Okay, well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Closer Encounters Live, the Bible and the Alien Connection, episode number 2. Appreciate the comments and everything on the first episode, Closer Encounters Live, and I just to get in depth, so been doing a few days of studying and whatever in order to do this one, and the comments and the likes and whatever went over pretty good. So I figure we'll continue thus far and keep it going for a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, a little bit of a recap. On the first episode, we did Genesis chapters 1 through 3. And it talked about how the world was made and how animals were created and the vegetation was created. And we also discussed about Adam and Eve and how they were created. And of course, they upset God, by doing something they weren't supposed to. And they were booted out of the Garden of Eden. And it pretty much ends the story. One thing I wanted to point out, which I did not do in the last video, when you go back and you read about God creating man and female in his image, it talks about first man, and then it talks about later on, it talks about him making Adam. Well, here's one point that I wanted to stress to you and wanted to point out. There's a difference between the two, the male and females that he made earlier compared to Adam and Eve. The males, the man and the females that he created, he made from his own image. Adam, he made from the dust of the ground. Okay? Doesn't say in his likeness. It doesn't say in their image or his image. All it says is he made Adam from the dust of the earth. Of course, Eve, as we explained, was made from the rib of Adam. Now, it doesn't necessarily explain how he made first man and first woman. All we know is they were created in his likeness. But we know that Adam and Eve was created from the dust of the earth. Basically from the dust of the earth, and Eve was, of course, created from the rib of Adam. So, two different distinctive ways of creation, two distinctive humanoids or humans, whatever you want to call them. Like I said, I honestly believe that the first humans were your cave people. They were cave dwellers. Which brings me up to another point I wanted to kind of put out there to you. The reason why, and it's just my belief, that he created Adam and Eve was because first man, now you got to really think about this, first man was really somewhat ignorant. He didn't have much of a brain. He was a hunter-gatherer. We don't know when fire was introduced. We don't know none of that stuff. We do know later on they were making stone tools and stuff like that. Many years for all this to develop. And I believe that Adam and Eve would have been the hybrids that he created who actually had some type of intelligence. Well, obviously they had to have, intelligence. And of course they got too smart. That was the problem. And they got booted out of the garden. Basically, I think what's going on here is you see the dawning of, the newer species, the newer generation, whatever, where caveman and that was just more like an animal. Certain times of the year, they gave birth certain times of the year, and they probably do like animals do. They probably, went north in the summer and south in the winter. They probably migrated here and there. They probably interbred. Who knows? There's about it. But we do know that there's a long line of genome going on there, generations, whatever. But Adam and Eve was a whole different species altogether. And I think this is where God decided, he needed a more intelligent human. And therefore, he made Adam and, of course, Eve to be with Adam, so he wasn't by himself. But that's my theory. That's what I go by. And hopefully some of you will agree. Maybe not. It works for me. That's how I do it. So anyway, if you're just joining us and you'd like to follow along, you can go on your computer, go to Google, look up the Bible, the Holy Bible, and look for onelittleangel.com. That's www.onelittleangel.com. Or just stick it in your favorites, whatever. The whole Bible, it's the King James Version. Comes in 4 languages. It comes in Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and of course English. And it's the whole Bible, Old and New Testament, reverse, everything. So there you go. And this is what I use and my references. Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else I was going to bring up here from the last one. Okay, not necessarily. Okay, so we can move on. We stopped at chapter 3, so we can begin on chapter 4 in Genesis. And this is shortly after Adam and Eve was taken out of the Garden of Eden, or was cast out, or whatever. They were told to leave, and now they're living outside the garden. So we start here with 1, and it says that and Adam knew Eve his wife, and he conceived and bare Cain, a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought forth the fruit of the ground, an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Abel his brother. And it came to pass when they were in the field, up against Abel his brother. Well, here's the first recordable killing, murder. And it happens to be siblings. There you go, 2 brothers, and one kills the other one. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. While thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. That's pretty harsh stuff. And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me. So he's worried about getting killed by these other people out there. You know, he's no longer, God doesn't want to see him. You know, the Lord says, turn away from me. I don't even want to look at you. Just get out of here, you know. Go do whatever. But I don't know you anymore, you know. And now he's worried that, you know, when she takes off, when she goes, that, you know, they're going to find him and, you know, somebody's going to kill him. So the Lord said unto him, therefore, whoever slayeth Cain, vengeance him sevenfold upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. So he left the presence of the Lord, and he went out into this little city, town, whatever, called Nod, and that's, you know, that's where he went. And the Lord put a mark on him. We don't know what the mark is, but obviously when people see him, it's pretty much a mark saying, avoid this person, leave them alone, you know, do whatever. So, you know, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. Now, I want to point something out here real quick. You're going to hear the name Enoch a few times in the Bible. And some of you may know and some of you may know, but there was an Enoch who did write a book, which we will get into in this alien connection deal. This Enoch is not the same Enoch. There happens to be two. They are related, but people. This particular Enoch would be Adam's grandson, Cain's firstborn, or Cain's only born, or whatever. But so Cain goes to Nod, he gets himself a wife, has a son called Enoch, and then Cain builds a city and calls it Enoch. So now he's living in the city of Enoch with his son Enoch. So I just wanted to point that out. But Enoch that they're mentioning here is the first Enoch, and this would be Adam's grandson. Okay. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehulah, and Mehulah begat Methuselah, and Methuselah begat Lamech, and Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents and such as have cattle. So they were tent dwellers and cattle people. And his brother name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. So basically what they're saying is Jabal was the father of such that dwelled in tents and tended to cattle, and Jubal was the father of all that handled harps and organs. So they were musicians and whatever. Zillah, she also bore Tubulakan, of every and brass was, now I'll point something out here. This is the start. Well, I can't say the start, but this is where metallurgy, copper, brass, takes place. Now remember, this is what, 3-4 generations, I think, after Adam. And now they're talking about brass and iron. You know, he's a brass and iron maker, working with metals. So we know, well, we don't know exactly when it started, but if you Google it and you ask what year did metallurgy actually begin, you'll get anywhere from 5,000 years BC to 8,000 years. And there's many scientific studies and archaeologists who've gotten together and tried to, you know, pinpoint this, but that's even some of them say it all started in Egypt around 3000 BC. So it's hard to say for sure, you know, when this all began. But we do know that it's mentioned in the Bible, and you know, this is like the 3rd or 4th generation from Adam. So it's a very long time, and remember that now this would be also introduced, you know, with the other people that are already on Earth. So caveman's already involved. He's grown up. He's got a little smarter, and you know, I'm sure he's mingling. Well, obviously they're mingling with all of Adam's descendants because they're taking wives, you know, blah blah blah, and so here you go. Okay, so there's a mixture now of early man and Adam's clan, and you know, they're taking wives and they're having babies and blah blah blah. They're herdsmen, they're musicians, they're metallurgists, you know, so on and so forth. So here you go. You know, this is what's breaking it down for you. And Lamech said unto his wives Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. So there's the second murder recorded in the Bible. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For God said, she hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. So there you go. So Adam shows back up later on, and him and his wife have another son, and his name is Enos. And obviously Enos, you know, he began men to call upon the name of the Lord. So obviously Enos is some type of a prophet or a priest or something of that nature. And we go on here to chapter 5. And this is the book of generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of man made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name. Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness and after his image, and called his name Seth. So he already had Cain and Abel. Abel got killed by Cain. Later on down the road, Adam is now 130 years old and has another son, Seth. And the days of Adam after he had gotten Seth were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. So 930 years. That's a long time. Seth lived 105 years and begot Enos. And Seth lived after he begot Enos 807 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. And Enos lived 90 years and begot Canaan. And Enos lived after he begot Canaan 815 years and begot sons and daughters. And this were 905 years, and he died. Whew, that's a lot of people. Now remember, all these people, Enos and Canaan and Seth and Adam and all of them, they're still having babies throughout this whole thing, you know, all these years. And they begot sons and daughters who begot sons and daughters who begot. So these, the population's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They're all semi-related on down the line, but, you know, you can see where this is going here, okay? So we'll go down through here a little bit here. Canaan, he wound up having Mahali, and he lived 840 years and daughters, and Canaan finally died at 910 years. Mahali, he begat Jared, and he went on to live 895 years, and he died. And Jared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch. So there is your second Enoch right there. Jared lived 162 years, and he begot Enoch. And Jared lived after he begot Enoch 800 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years and begot Methuselah. Now you want to remember these two names incidentally, Enoch and Methuselah. So if you got a piece of paper, scratch them down because they kind of play a little bit of a part here later on in our work. So I'm going to be mentioning Enoch and Methuselah a little bit here and there, and especially Enoch, because we will talk about his writings and things that went on there with him. And Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. Walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. I'm going to read that one more time. I want you to understand something, what happened here. And Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Now, it doesn't say he died. Okay? God took him. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begot Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begot Lamech 782 years and begot sons and daughters. All the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years and begot a son. Called his name Noah. This same shall comfort us concerning our work and which the Lord had cursed. After he begot Noah 595 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. and Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, so I also want you to write the name Lamech down, Lamech, which is Methuselah, and he's also the son of Enoch, which makes Noah son of Enoch. So that's like 7 generations, okay? From Enoch back to Noah, and all the way back to Adam. So there's 2 Enochs, we know that. Enoch, of course, the first Enoch was Adam's grandson. The second Enoch is the great-grandfather, who is also the father of Methuselah, the grandfather of Lamech. So you want to kind of get them straight if you can. Kind of missed that, just rewind and, hear me over and over again. Okay. And that ends chapter 5. We're kind of moving on here. All right. This is where it gets a little different here. This is where in chapter 6, this is where things start getting a little, well, actually, back in chapter 5, when it talks about Enoch being taken by God, and for those of you who know, and for those who don't know, there are books that are written by Enoch. And I'll give you a little rundown here real quick. Enoch abducted, taken by God, and had these visions, or everything in the book of Enoch is as one-on-one person. It's not like me, Enoch, It's first person writing. If you have never read the book of Enoch, I suggest you get online. You're going to find out, unfortunately, different writings of the book of Enoch. Full text, all the books of Enoch, and which is the book of the secrets of Enoch, which is Enoch 2, and the Hebrew book of Enoch, which is Enoch 3. Now, scholars over the centuries have gone through all 3 of these writings, and they pretty much come down to the fact that the book of Enoch, which is the first book, was actually of Enoch, and most likely written by Enoch. And the book of secrets of Enoch was an interpretation, basically the same. And honestly, I've read pretty much all 3 of these books. They vary from here to there, but honestly, from what you get from the story and from his visions and stuff, is on the money all the way through. So honestly, it doesn't really matter which book you read, but I suggest you read one of them anyway, and you'll get the idea about what happened with Enoch. He was the Nostradamus. Everything that was going to happen in the future, okay? And there's, well, we'll definitely get into it, the book of Enoch and stuff, because there's so much there that really needs to be brought out, and people need to to know about this. Now, here's the thing. The book of Enoch was one of the from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's always been said that the Dead Sea Scrolls, plus all the other books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Old Testament, the New Testament, Genesis, and so forth, and all that, all were a complete Bible at one time. If you were to take all the scrolls and read through them from top to bottom, you would have gone through the book of Enoch. You would have gone through, there's another book called the Book of Giants, which we'll get into later on also. Yeah, I mean, there's even a couple other, so there's all these other books called the Dead Sea Scrolls that could have went into the Bible. But when it was first put together, they separated these books. And I honestly believe, if you don't know the story about the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were found in caves. It happened to be a small young goat herder was out tending his flock, and he seen a hole in the cave. He seen this hole in the wall in there, and he broke some pottery, or he heard the breaking of pottery. He went up to investigate, and here he found all these big pots with writings into them, which wound up being the Dead Sea Scrolls, which should have been some of the Bibles. Now, I think what happened was back in the day when they actually wrote the Bible, where they were putting the Bible together for the first time as one manuscript, I honestly think that they were going to probably destroy the book of Enoch and the book of Giants and so on and so forth. Possibly some of the scholars or some of the translators got together and said, you know what, let's not destroy these. Let's hide them. Let's take them. Let's, do whatever. We don't want to, get rid of them. Maybe someday somebody else will find them and use them. And yeah, and I believe that's what happened. That's just my explanation. So they took them and they hid them in these caves. There was like 10 different caves scattered around the place, I believe it was, different scrolls. So they were not all in just one place. They were stuck all over the place. Hopefully, they were, obviously written on brass, of all things, or copper sheets. I mean, not brass, or maybe brass, I don't know, but definitely copper scrolls. As time went on, you can see how old and how new some of this stuff was, because they wrote on papyrus and stuff a whole lot earlier, and clay tablets also, long before copper sheets ever come out. So these things around a very, very long time and had been written many. So pretty interesting deal all the way around. So, but anyway, like I said, we'll get into the book of Enoch a little bit later on. But very interesting, good read. I suggest you sit down and read it. And what you're going to find out is, quite honestly, the book of Enoch would have had to been, if not the oldest writing of, well, it had to be the oldest writing before the book of Genesis or any of that. Many people believe that Moses was the one that wrote most of the Old Testament, which is probably fact. I'm not really sure, but somewhere here in the writings that Moses sat down and wrote everything word for word. So, but Enoch's book actually reflects, it's a reflection that we're going to get into now with Noah and the flood and stuff. The whole book of Enoch is about his abduction of of Enoch. So by the time Noah comes around and becomes old enough to do what God wants him to do, with the ark and the flood and everything, he's up there in age. So, obviously, even further as far as that goes. So judge, but quite, and it does mention the ordeal. Methuselah and Lemma. I suggest you read Noah. Amazing what you're going to find out. And of course, we will get into it ourselves, but very, very good stuff. And it all fits. I mean, this is all, and this is why, because there was a reason that they left it out entirely for whatever deal. Maybe it got too in depth. Maybe I don't know what the deal is there, but for some reason it just wasn't allowed in, and but thank goodness that the other people didn't destroy it, that they kept it and preserved it, and here we go, full circle, right? So pretty cool. Okay, let's move on here. We're going to go to chapter 6, and this is where it gets down to the nitty-gritty, and as you know about the flood myth. Now, I also want to mention something also, that throughout ancient time, and I'm talking the Mayans, the Aztecs, the African people, you name it, the Hopi legends, all kind of different religions, Japanese, Chinese, you name it, Hindu, everything, all has a parable of the flood story. So there's definitely no reason to believe that it didn't happen. Okay? They all know this story. This story, worldwide, global, been written thousands of times in thousands of languages by thousands of cultures. So it had to have happened. It just, you can't make up something like that and not going to happen. So anyway, but a little bit before the flood, let's talk about what happens here before the flood happens. So chapter 6, verse 1, and it came to pass when man begat to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of man, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. Okay, now let's back up just a little bit more here, and let's talk about what's happening here. And it said, it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth. and daughters were born unto them. Well, we know that he's not talking just about Adam's family here. We know Adam, his family, obviously, multiple generations now. But we're talking about man before Adam. Okay, so, we're talking about, caveman and so on and so forth on up. Okay, we know that there's metallurgy going on. So we know that the time of man at this point has gotten more knowledge. They're not just cave dwellers anymore. I mean, there may be a few here and there, but they're actually out tilling the ground. They learned how to grow things. They're self-sufficient now. They're established. Okay. And it goes on that the sons of God now, saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. So here these angels, sons of God, coming down, picking and choosing these daughters, okay, and taking them for themselves. It's like, hey, let's go pillage earth, let's take us some wives. All right. So they're all zipping in and, here we go. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So here now God changed the lifespan of man. So man's not living 900 years and so on and so forth at this point, okay? Even though we know, well, you'll find out here in a minute. We'll get into this. But so basically, God is changing the life cycle of man. He's only going to live up to around 120 years, and that's it. Okay. I'm going to say, and this is interesting. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. So God is not happy. He's like, wow, what did I do? I can't believe I made such a person. And sad these people really are. These are not what I wanted, It also mentions the giants. It says there were giants in the earth. After that, when the sons of God came into, into daughters. So the giants were already here. Now you'll hear people talk about the Nephilim and all that stuff. But right here, just in that one verse alone, it says there were giants in the earth in those days. After that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. So there are already giants before these other beings come up, came down and took wives. All right. So is the Nephilim story true or not? Well, we're going to find out here later on in our study. So just kind of jot that down as a question, and we'll talk about that. Okay. Anyway, so God's recognizing that man is wicked. He's not doing so good, and anything that God had ever imagined it's just evil, and God's not happy at all. And the Lord said, I will destroy man who I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for I repenteth me that I have made them. Wow. So he's really upset with himself. He's just, well, let's face it, he's pissed. He's like, what the hell did I do? I'm just going to have to wipe the hell with it. Let's just get rid of everything. Let's just, done deal. Let's just kill it all off. Start from new, whatever. But this stuff has got to go. Okay. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And these are the generations of Noah. Noah was just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So he's not talking just man here, he's talking the whole earth. Everything is just going to get destroyed. He is not going to monkey around. He's done with this stuff. And he says to Noah, make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, shall pitch it within and without with pitch. Now he's talking about pine pitch, like sap, okay? And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits. I'm gonna write this down real quick. This is 300 cubits. The breadth of 50 cubits. So we know the girth is going to be 50 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it. Above and the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof. With lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. So he's got 3 stories. So it's 3 stories tall. 3 stories tall. 300 cubits long. 50 cubits width. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do, just for grins and chuckles. How big is a cubit? Well, here we go. 1 cubit is 1.5 feet. What? 1.5 feet. The Bible tells us the length of Noah's ark was 300 cubits, its width is 50 cubits, its height is 30 cubits. How long is a cubit? Well, you're talking 3.5 or 1.5 feet per cubit. That's, well, my math ain't worth a damn here, but 1.5 times 300. 450 feet. So it's 450 feet long. That's not very big. 450 feet. Wow. So let's see here. Let's go by 50. And it's 75 feet wide. Wow. By 30 tall. It's 45 feet tall. 45 feet tall. Well, this is pretty interesting. So let's see here. "450 feet equals 150 yards. So you're talking 1.5. That's 1 1/2 football field. I guess that's pretty good size when you consider that. That's really, yeah. So let's see here. 75 would be 25 yards. I'm just trying to get an estimate here. Let me see here. 75. I want to see just how tall. Okay, so it'd be 75 feet. So 75. Ooh. Oh, I'm sorry, 75 yards. That's what we're looking at. So 75, no, I'm sorry, 25 yards. Yeah, what am I saying? Wow, I'm really messing myself up here. So I got a conversion here. So 25 yards is 75 feet tall. "75 feet tall." Or I'm sorry, it's 75 feet wide, not tall. We're talking 300 cubits, which is 450 feet long, which is 150 yards. That's 1.5 football fields. Okay. 75 feet wide, which is 25 yards. 45 tall. Okay. I'm getting myself all confused here. Well, I'm good for that. All righty. So, yeah, 75 feet. Is 25 yards. Yards, 25 yards. For 25 yards, that isn't 75 feet is 25 yards. Well, 25 yards isn't very wide. Isn't very wide at all. You got something that's 450 feet long. It's 1.5 football fields long, but only 25 yards wide at 75 feet. That's not very. It's not very wide at all. Let's see here. I wanted to go to 45 feet, it's 15 yards. So that's not very tall either. That's 45 feet tall, 15 yards. 15 yards, 45 feet tall. So it's 450 feet long, 75 feet wide by 45 feet tall. I mean, it's a pretty good sized ship, but it's not. I mean, we got bigger ships than that are roaming around today. I mean, that's that's relatively small compared to your ocean liners and stuff. That's not. It's really not that big when you consider what he's asking for here. So, yeah, here we are doing it. Yeah, so it's 1.5 football fields, which, it seems pretty long, but it's really not. I mean, 450 feet, it's really not that long. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Not compared to today's modern boats and stuff. I mean, when you stop and think about it. It's 75 feet wide by 45 feet tall. Now, 45 feet tall, I mean, it's up there, but it's not, it's 3 stories. So, Okay, so 300 cubits width, the 50 cubits, height of it, 30 cubits. Oh, I'm wrong about that. It's only 30 cubits high. So actually, it's even shorter yet. It's not even that high. So, oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, and behold, it says, I do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. Now he's saying everything. Everything. But with thee I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons and thy wife, and thy sons' wives and thee. So he's saying, bring your immediate family, bring your sons, bring your daughter-in-laws, bring your wife, you know, and every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, and keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female, of fowls after their kind, and cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto thee, and keep them alive. And take thou unto thee all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he. So God's telling him, you know, go grab 2 of everything, you know, everything of flesh, all living things, and, you know, thou shalt bring it into the ark and keep them alive. You know, just make sure there's 1 male and 1 female of anything that's fleshy, and, you know, bring in the birds, bring in the cattle, bring in every creepy thing, you know, two of everything. That's what he's saying. Now here's one thing I want to point out to you. It says he's going to destroy all of earth. He's getting rid of, you know, all fleshy things and creepy things and all that stuff. The only thing that he's not really destroying here, other than Noah and his family, and, you know, the 2 of whatever, is the fish. The fish species, the whales, and all that stuff, everything, to kill them, obviously. Okay, so, you know, obviously there's going to be enough salt water or whatever, you know, mixture that the fishes and whatever are still going to survive. So I would imagine anything water dwelling is going to be okay. But anyway, let's get back to what this says. Now you're going to hear a lot of ancient alien theorists surmise that Noah's Ark was nothing more than a bank. And I tend to agree with that. You know, I always said that it's very possible that the Ark was just a place where they may have put, you know, like hair from every animal, or a tooth from an animal, or, you know, some kind of DNA structure, hair, teeth, whatever, and placed them in the ark and whatever. But according to the word, according to the writings, it very well states that they want every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. So he wants these things kept alive. He doesn't want to kill them. You know, he wants them kept alive. Obviously, they're going to be bred later on to replenish the earth. Everything, male and female. Now, to keep them alive with thee. Now, it's very possible you could interpret this as DNA, because basically DNA, you can't kill DNA. DNA is going to be a living cell, if you were to do it that way. And as long as you're collecting DNA from 1 male and 1 female, then you would have your 2 of everything. So it's something to think about. But we definitely know by the length and the width and the height of the ship, plus all the food and everything that you need for, you know, let's see, we got Noah and his wife, his 3 sons and 3 daughter-in-laws. So that's 6, 7, that's 8 people. That's a lot of food. I mean, think about it. You know, if you're eating 2 or 3 meals a day, you don't know for how long this is going to last. He actually doesn't tell Noah, you know, that you're going to be riding on this boat for, you know, 4 months or 3 months or a year, or he doesn't even say that, you know. Doesn't give him any clue so far as to how long he's going to be out there. So, you know, but he's telling him to go gather up, you know, 2 of everything to keep them alive. male and female, all the fowls of their kind, the cattle of their kind, every creeping thing of the earth. Two of every sort, every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive. So, this boat ain't going to be big enough to do that in. That's for damn sure. So the boat doesn't match the quantity of animals unless there isn't that many animals alive at this point. Okay, we don't know. We don't know what, it just says creepy things and beasts, ox and cattle, and we know there's sheep and goats and stuff like that. We don't know about the rest of it. Was there zebras? Was there, leopards and lions and, elephants? And we don't know. We don't know what was there. Okay. That stuff may have been introduced later on. Maybe there's only a handful of animals that we know. Who knows? But according to this measurements, and you can write this stuff down and get online and check and recheck it for me, make sure I'm doing this correctly. But I come up with 450 feet long, 75 feet wide by 45 feet tall. It's not that big. It's not that big of a vessel. It just, a cubit's only 1.5 feet. So it's, that's only, an arm. What is that? Probably, from elbow maybe to the tip of your finger. That's all a cubit is. Oh yeah, it's not that big. 1.5 feet. So yeah, pretty crazy. Okay, let's move on here a little bit. Chapter 7. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house in the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. So now he's telling him, take of every clean beast and take these by sevens. Okay, and of the unclean beast, only take two. Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. Well, now he wants 7 of every species, but that, the male and the female by sevens. So that's like odd man out. How do you do sevens? And why wouldn't it be 8 or 6? Why 7? Why, So you want 7 of these, 7 of those, 7 of this, 7 of that, male and female, but you got an odd man out here. You can't have, kind of odd. Kind of odd. But the fowls of the air by sevens, male and female, to keep seed alive upon the face of the earth. Now, what he's talking about, that, in case you don't quite understand what that means, is, birds eat and they poop, and the poop has seed in it, and that's basically how trees are grown and small vegetation and stuff, and that's regeneration. So that's how it works. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy off the face of the earth. And Noah did accordance unto all the Lord had commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of the waters was upon the earth. Now, this is something I wanted to point out, because back in the other chapter, God, pretty much set the time of man at 120 years. But Noah, Noah gets to live, a whole lot longer. So, Noah gets a pardon. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, into the ark because of the waters and the flood, of clean beasts, of of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. There went in two and two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, and God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass that for 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day, were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of the heavens were open. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Wow. In the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his son with them into the ark. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl of his kind, every bird of every sort. They went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh were in this breath of life. And they that went in male and female, all flesh, as God has commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went up upon the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. Well, we know that the tallest mountain in the world is Mount Everest, and that's a lot of water if you get up above that bad boy. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. 15 cubits. Well, let's see here. 15 cubits. Now that doesn't make sense either. So I want to go back and see. I want to see 15 cubits. Let's go back and see. That can't be right. That can't be right. Let me read this again here. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. That's it. The waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. Well, according to this, if this is right, and a cubit is a foot and a half, 15 cubits times 1.5 is only 22.5. So that's, no, that can't be right. 2.5. .5 times 15. 22.5 feet. That's it. 22.5 feet. Something ain't right here. So if you guys, maybe I'm wrong on the cubit thing, I don't know, but something ain't making sense here. That just ain't right. And let's see, all whose nostrils were breath of life and dry land died. Okay. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and the creeping things and the fowl of the heaven. And they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in. And and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. 150 days. So that's almost 6 months that the waters supposedly were on the earth. And here's the thing I don't understand either, as far as this parable goes. And you know, we're probably looking too much into it anyway, because it is just a story. But whether or not the actual footage is right and whatever, you know, it really doesn't matter. But basically, what's going on here is the fact that, you know, the earth was flooded. Everything supposedly was killed off. Now, I can't believe that, you know, there weren't other boats. There had to be other boats in this day and age. There had to be, I mean, you know, let's stop and think about now. Of course, 6 months without food, you know, unless you're fishing or something. I don't know. You know, I'm just saying, whether this is a true story or just, you know, was it a massive flood? Was it, you know, was it worldwide? Was it just one part of the world? Your guess is as good as mine. You know, interpretation, like I said, is up to you. And, you know, this is how it goes. So for now, I think we're going to stop here. This is the end of chapter 7. I kind of, I was going to keep going, but, you know, we're kind of running out of time here or whatever. I kind of want to keep this within an hourly range if I can, but, you know, it's okay. But that, you know, pretty much tells you the beginning of the flood story. And we'll pick it up next time, you know, starting with chapter 8. But this just goes to show you, you know, we ran through the sizes. I'm going to do some double checking on that and see, maybe the older cubits were bigger than our modern day cubits. I don't know. Who knows? But 22.5 feet of water isn't a whole lot of water. That's only as high as one of our houses, basically. You know, your house is around 20 feet tall. I mean, it's really not that much when you stop and think about it. So it didn't cover the whole mountains, because we got mountain ranges that are miles and miles and miles high. So that's doesn't make sense. I don't know. The only thing I can think of, and I'll put this out there to you, is possibly that in this time, maybe the landmass wasn't all that big, and maybe there wasn't that many animals, and maybe there wasn't, you know, a whole whack of humans. I mean, who knows for sure? But you know, you stop and think of it, because everything we know about right now in our time, where you go around, you see all these, you know, megalithic structures and stuff and different things. You know, of course, now some of them probably, well, I'm just saying some of them may predate the flood. Some of them may not. Some of them may have been built after the flood, like the Great Pyramids and so on and so forth. Stonehenge, obviously, after the flood, possibly. I mean, you know, there's all kind of things out there. But, you know, it seems funny that for the time being, especially in the Old Testament, well, most of the Bible anyway, I'll put it point blank to you, talks about that side of the world anyway. It doesn't say nothing about this side, or, you know, towards Africa or any of that, or, you know, down in South America or North America. All it talks about is this particular portion of the world, you know, Arabic countries and Egypt countries, Egypt and places, over in that, the Middle East and whatever. So the Bible pretty much pertains to that section of the world. So maybe, just maybe, that's all there was at that time. Maybe there was no other land mass. Maybe it was just that continent, and the rest of it was water. I don't know. It's speculation, and that's all we can do is speculate, because we honestly don't know. We do know that right now there are cities being found under the oceans. Were they there before the flood and after the flood? I don't know. Was it there before the earth shifted and tilted on its axis? Was man around when it happened? Obviously, it had to be. I mean, or was that part of the ice age? And when the ice caps melted and the ice melted, everything flooded then. Maybe there was 2 or 3 floods. Who knows? But according to this, only 1 flood. So I don't know. So anyway, if you have any comments, please post them below. Pass it along, let people know what we're doing here. And hopefully I try to explain what I can, best I can. But yeah, check out the qubits and stuff and see what you guys come up with. Let me know. Write them in the comments. See what you find out. But I'm going by what the book says. Wrote it down. We went through. We Googled it. Found out it's only 1.5 feet long per cubit. So the measurements definitely don't add up as far as that goes. And 15 cubits of flood, 22.5 feet. That's not much of a flood as far as I'm concerned. We got lakes that are that deep now. I mean, so I don't know. I really don't know the explanation behind that. So maybe we're wrong on the footage. Maybe we're wrong. But even so, here's the thing to think about too. Now I said 15 cubits as far as the flood. The ark itself is only 30 cubits tall. So think about it. It's only half an ark, 15 cubits. And part of that ark is going to be in the water as it's floating along. So, at least half of it anyway is going to be submerged. So if it's 30 cubits tall and it's got to float, you're going to have a water line of so many cubits on the side of the vessel. You know what I'm saying? Part of it's going to be under, sitting exactly on top of the water. As all the boats, there's always part of them that are underneath the water. So I don't know. Strange, very strange. But we'll pick it up again and in the next couple of days. So we'll start off with chapter 8 next time around. So we actually did 4 through 8 today. So we did 4 through 7. So we did good. So as a recap real quick, Cain killed Abel. The first Enoch was born. And then metallurgy was being taken place. So, time is moving on, and pretty crazy. Then the second Enoch, of course, was born. He was abducted. And then Noah was born, which is the great-grandson of Enoch. And he builds the ark and, does his thing with the animals. And right now we're going to leave them floating in the ocean or floating in the water. So next time we'll come back and we'll see what happens with Noah and the family and the animals and all this crazy stuff. So I wish everybody a good evening, and thank you much for watching. And don't forget to comment and subscribe and all that stuff. Tell your friends what we're doing. Okay? Thank you all. Have a good night.